quadratic equation by square root. This is also called the square root method. Okay, this is also called the square root method. So let's see how we can solve quadratic equation using a square root method. I have two examples here. First question, 2x plus 3 quantity squared is equal to 8. Remember, this is a second degree equation. The power is 2. So this is a quadratic equation, and we are going to get two roots here. The idea is because when we have a square quantity on one side with x here, we can remove that square by taking square root on both sides. That's why it is called the square root method. So you can take a square root on both sides. But remember, we are solving quadratic equations, so we are going to get two values. And the way we go get those two values is by taking a positive and negative square root of 8. Because when you square a negative number, that's also positive. And when you square a positive, definitely that's a positive. So now, on the left-hand side, square and square root cancel. So you get 2x plus 3 equal to plus or minus. Square root of 8, I can write that as 4 times 2. And that is 2x plus 3 equal to plus or minus. I can find the square root of 4, that's a 2. And square root of 2 as it is, like that. So 2x plus 3 equal to plus or minus 2 root 3. Now the next step is you subtract 3 on both sides. So if you subtract 3, you get 2x equal to negative 3 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3. And finally, to get x by itself, you divide on both sides by 2. So you get x equal to negative 3 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3 divided by 2. So with plus, you have one value. With minus, you have the other value. That's why we have two values here. You know the reason? Because it's a quadratic equation. So this process of solving the quadratic equation, where you take a square root on both sides, that is called the square root method.
Why did the square root become 3 at the end instead of 2 square root 2?
2 square root of 2 is as it is. 2 is, oh, my bad. That's 2 square root of 2. Let's move on to B. So in B, you have x minus 5 quantity squared plus 4 equal to 0. So you can see here is a square quantity, but 4 is added here. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract that 4 on both sides. Just like here, we have a square quantity equal to a number. I just want to match that form. So I'm going to write x minus 5 quantity squared. If I subtract 4 on both sides, that's equal to negative 4, minus 4 on both sides. And to remove that square, you take the square root now. Take the square root, and also we are solving a quadratic equation and we want to get two values. So we take plus or minus. So we are going to take plus or minus there. Plus or minus. Okay. Now let's simplify further. Square and square root here, they undo each other or they cancel. So we get x minus 5 equal to plus or minus. You know that from our previous class, square root of 4 is 2, but square root of negative 4 is a 2i. So we are getting a complex answer here. Plus or minus 2i. Square root of 4 is 2, but square root of negative 4 is a 2i. Then add 5 on both sides. So x equal to positive 5 plus or minus 2i. So with positive, you have one answer. And with negative, you have the other answer. So we get two answers there. In this one, your answer is in the radical form with the square root there. But here we have the imaginary answer. We have the complex number, meaning of that is we have the imaginary root.